very beautiful. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
Leigh asked me to do it is one of the big reasons. It being the 7th project I worked with him on over 33 years. And the fact that I knew a little bit about Turner. I know a hell of a lot more now, but and I knew that he was an intriguing, contradictory character, and nothing like the sort of man that you would imagine who would have painted those pictures. So that in itself was an interesting thing.
He had a complex life. He was eccentric in many ways. He was obviously a genius of some kind. He was passionate. He could be incredibly honest and incredibly disingenuous. He's a really interesting character. That, in relation to this amazing work, this epic, sublime spiritual stuff that he knocked out, suggested to me a movie, really.
What sort of man is he? Well, it's difficult to say because he was complicated. So he was nice, he was horrible, he was mean, he was kind, he wasn't violent, he was dismissive, he was incredibly intelligent, he was simian, he was a rough-hewn character, he was a man that could have been made of mud with an arm like an electric rod of brilliance. He was sexually very driven, unconventional in his sexual tastes, a man of mystery, a man of generosity, a rude man, a generous man, a horrible man, very nice to children. What else do you want to know? He liked to drink, and he was a genius.
Why on earth would he go and do that? He's ruined a masterpiece.
It's a boy.
It is by far the most proud professional association of my life that I've worked with him over all these years. I was a big fan of his way back. It's before the Boer War when I went to RADA. All the people used to come in doing impersonations of characters that he'd created for Play for Today's.
Well, he's a great character actor. He's a Londoner. He knows working class people. He's read a lot of Dickens. He's good at 19th century, and he had some pretensions to being a bit of a painter. Though we sent him to lessons for 2 years before we filmed it.
So, what Mike does is he often chooses characters that aren't usually at the centre. He chooses the characters often in his contemporary pieces about the people who deliver the coal, not the people who burn the coal. He's not the person who lives in the castle or lives in the big house. He's the person who goes in the back door and clears out the waste. In this case, this is Turner. This is a man who was a great genius and is lauded as such. But it was a very unusual package of a genius. I mean, he is like, if you didn't know anything about Turner and you just looked at his work, you'd imagine him to be a completely different character. He wasn't. He was a very human, almost gruff. Almost he could have grown. He could have been moulded out of the mud of the Thames. But he had a polymathic intellect. He had a massive knowledge of Greek mythology, of art, all the disciplines of architecture. He was a man of infinite intelligence, great talent, but he was also a very flawed human being.
The universe is chaotic, and you make us see it. You are a man of great vision, Mr. Turner.